Yeah, it goes late nights on the road. Yeah, that's just how it goes. Yeah, that's just how it goes these days. I'ma try my best to make this flight, but if I don't wake up tomorrow, then the sun will still be. Yeah, it goes late nights.
Bada boom, bada bing, it's your boy Oceanic Flight 111 heading straight to full potential with zero delays. I'd like to welcome you to One Step at a Time podcast. On this podcast, we're going to have various walks of life chat about their journeys from where they once were to where they are now in their lives. If you enjoy what you hear, be sure to give it a like, a follow, and maybe tell a friend. And without further ado, let's get into it, to the first episode of One Step at a Time. Ladies and gentlemen, my first guest, I'd like to welcome Aniq. He's my first guest. He is a photographer and YouTuber. His YouTube content carries and covers many things, but mostly self-help information and a lot of content that help motivate people to make progress in their life. He also has a love for traveling and has spent a lot of his time going to various places around the globe. He also happens to be a very sharp, intuitive and wise young fellow. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Aniq. How are you?
Thank you, Mr. Ocean.
Thank you.
Honestly, that's quite nice to hear. Thank you for having me on.
No worries. How's your day going?
It's good. Been quite productive. I've been up since 6:30 this morning. Just completely, I banged out like 3 videos right there, like back to back for the last 6 hours, consistent. Like, so honestly, it was just it was in focus mode for such a long time there for today, and then took a bit of a rest. Now just waiting for this podcast.
Sick. I love to hear it. It was funny because before we started recording, I was asking you about your name and I didn't want to mispronounce it. Now I was looking it up, and I don't know if the definition is correct, but when I looked up Aniq, it was coming up like clever, stylish, elegant. Is that like wise? Are you aware of the meaning behind your name, or have you ever looked into it? Or?
So this is a funny story, right? So like my actual name like is actually just spelled Anik. It's not. There's no Q. But I understood. I heard about the meaning of the word like Aniq in Arabic, that's the way it's spelled in Arabic. And when I heard about that, I was like, I just want to change my name to like Aniq with a Q, because I think that's just cooler, and I think it kind of fits me as a person, and that's why I wanted to like portray it as, you know.
No, yeah, I love that. I was very curious too, because I was using Google Translate. I had it in. I wasn't sure what language it was, so I was going through all means. So I kind of want to take you, when I was going through your content, I want to kind of bring you back before you started maybe doing like YouTube, or maybe started doing photography or any of that. So when I was watching some of your videos, you mentioned from like, was it 2015 to 2021? You weren't maybe on like the path you wanted in life. And you mentioned about your phone addiction and whatnot. If you were to bring it back to 2015, that's what, 8 years ago. It is 8 years ago, yeah. What's Aniq's life like? Where you at? Where you living? What's your thought processes? What type of person are you in that time period?
Yeah, so basically, like, I grew up in a small town. I'm still in this small town, but I've tried to get out and travel as much as possible. However, from 2015, I guess I was just a kid, and I didn't know what I wanted in life, and I was kind of lost, you know. And any kind of influence around me of like getting influenced by like such as bad things that you could talk about, such as like just getting in trouble, you know, like with the wrong people, stuff like that. I would have been very heavily influenced by just hanging out with groups of people that I necessarily knew that did not contribute to my like personal growth. 2015 to 2021, I would say I spent a lot of time, I guess, unaware, like very not self-conscious of my own being, and not like really happy. Like I spent a lot of time, I guess, being depressed more so than anything else. And I lost my dad when I was like about 12, 13 years old. And like I grew up with my mom, and obviously like as my father passed away, I kind of, my relationship with my mom drifted away. So I looked for influences in other spaces, and like I always try to hang out with like older people and stuff like that. And it didn't lead me to the greatest path, if you get me. Like it was kind of just wanted to, for example, go out, drink or stuff like that all the time, because I felt like it was just what the cool kids did, if you get me. And it's about fitting in. And I realized that was like, growing up now, I realized that was not a part of my identity, something that I ever really wanted. It was something that I did because I was influenced by the people around me. And back then it was just, I guess it was a simpler time to think like, okay, no, there's no consequences to your actions. Yeah. But the older you get, you realize that the more you indulge in such things as like getting ahead of yourself, like partying all the time, or even smoking weed all the time, like you literally get so consumed by that lifestyle that when you go into your 20s, you think like, oh, that's okay, you know. But then you realize how much like harmful effects it has on your mental health and your health in general. Like I have asthma and stuff like that, and like obviously I was smoking fags or smoking weed or stuff like that, and I realized that my health was getting really bad, you know, like 2 years ago maybe. And I realized that I need to stop. I need to get away from like the quitting all these like consumptions of things that I think that will fuel me for external purposes, and it wasn't fulfilling at all, you know.
So that's a lot there. You covered a lot in a short period.
Sorry.
No. It's very insightful. You mentioned, I didn't know that about your pops. You mentioned about losing your pops at a young age.
Yeah.
How were you able? What age was you? 12, 13? You said?
Yeah, I was there at 13 years old. Yeah.
I don't know if, do you mind going into what that was like? Was that obviously it was a heavy and tough experience. Were you able to deal with that at the time, or are you still dealing with that, like just like as the years go by, learning different processes and able to heal from like something like that?
The way I dealt with it as a kid was basically like do everything else but think about that, you know, and that's why I kind of escaped to, I guess, you know, indulge. Like I started drinking alcohol from a young age of like 14. You get me, like indulging in stuff like, you know, weed and stuff like that, like, you know, and it became such a big consumption of my childhood years, and I didn't focus. I guess like because how it affected me, I would say, is I wasn't able to focus in school. I never really took school seriously. And I only realized the value of that after I left school. You get me, like, like, and obviously people say, oh, you shouldn't, you know, yeah, school doesn't matter and all that stuff sometimes, but I feel like it's a vital part of your education system as you're growing up. Like whether it's like about reading novels or stuff like that. Yeah. Like I didn't even pick up reading books until like about a year and a half ago, and like that's why I was like always thinking that I wasn't articulated in my words and stuff like that I wanted to talk about. And I realized reading was one of the biggest things that could have made me a bit more wiser, you know, if I did take the time when I was younger to do so.
Most definitely. No, most definitely. You hit the nail on the head. It's so hard. I remember reading Alan Sugar's autobiography when I was in 5th year. And he was saying on about school and how if he wish he could go back for a day, he'd be so much more grateful. And I read this and I was like, yeah, tomorrow, Monday morning, I'm going to go into school, going to go in maths class, and I'm going to appreciate this experience. It's almost like I went to the future, came back and was like, no, I'm going to appreciate this. And about 10 minutes in, I said, fuck this. I was like, I still don't like school. I still don't want to be here. So I completely get that.
That's the thing. If I could go back to like school days, like, and like I would honestly would do something different. Like I would focus more in school or do things differently, you know. But at the end of the day, you can't take any experience away from yourself. I think every single experience, no matter what it was, crafts the person you are and the certain person that you're becoming, you know. And, you know, we all have to, I feel like the whole situation, like, for example, if I lost my father at a young age, I feel like that hardship of life growing up a certain way without a father figure, and you escape to a certain amount of things. And, like, that hardship crafts you. And, like, it crafts me into the person I am. And I think it was more so this is one of the most, like, I guess, eye-opening things for me. Like, my dad died from like a heart attack, and it was kind of like, you know, he had diabetes and stuff like that. And one thing was, I only got into meditation like about a year ago, right? And I was meditating one day, and I really thought about like my dad's like illnesses and like the way it's like I'm genetically, I guess, I'm genetically, you know, exposed to that. And I realized my life will end up the same if I carry on the same diets, the same habits, the same situation. All it is the formulation of bad habits over a long period of time. Yeah. And when you understand these simple concepts of life, you realize, man, I gotta change. You know, I like something deep in you like hits, and you're like, okay, I see this path that I'm going on. I'm gonna do a 180. You know, yeah, be like that's the kind of I guess drastic, I guess eye-opening experience you need for yourself to make a change.
So you mentioned there about first of all, congratulations on the meditation. I recommend everyone meditate. I don't care if you're young, old, babby, granny. You mentioned there that when you lost your pops, unfortunately, you started looking for other people, maybe for that, like that lead figure, like a role model almost, and you started hanging around with the wrong people for looking at that figure.
Yeah.
When you're in the process of that, it can often be hard to see these people aren't a good contribution or aren't beneficial to your growth. When you did realize that, was it hard to remove yourself? Because even you were a teenager, so you still had time people can be in their 30s and 40s and only realize that the people that are hanging around with them are really detrimental to their growth in all categories. So when you did realize this at a young age, was it easy to move yourself away? Because especially when you're friends with someone, it's not an easy thing to just like stop being friends with someone. Like, so what was that process like when you began to distance yourself from maybe the negative people in your life?
It definitely wasn't easy. There's definitely a process that goes in it. It comes to a situation that you you say to this one person, oh no, I can't hang out this day. And then it's a correlation of many days where you're like, oh, I can't hang out, you know. And over time, that friendship kind of fades away if you realize that like it wasn't a real friendship. It was just you guys get influenced when doing the bad things, like whether it's going out all the time or, you know, smoking weed. There's so much negative things that we both, like everyone else gets caught up in life, right?
Yeah.
And when I push myself away from it is when I kind of, now I want, like I will, for example, when I was in school, like third year, fourth year, like I wanted to quit school. I never wanted to go back. Like I literally, like I was like, oh, I'm going to be 16 years old and I'm going to quit school. That's when they let you quit school, right? Right. Yeah. There's all these negative thoughts. And because I just wanted to do that at the time, that's what I felt like was, oh, good for me. But I realized that wasn't the way. But then when I actually went into like my final years in actual school, I realized I do want a future and I do want to go to college. I do want to have these experiences like normal kids do, regardless. And I feel like me going to college and me having these different experiences in college, meeting better people, definitely influenced me to, I guess, get away from certain friend groups, because you had to leave your hometown. You had to leave the negative influences around you, you know?
No, 100%. It sounds like you were able to do that relatively smooth. What would you say to someone maybe who finds it difficult to even say no, I can't meet up today, because they may feel guilty? This is my friend. They may have a negative impact on me, but like, this is my friend. What advice do you think you would give someone that is finding it difficult to distance themselves? Because you might be friends with someone 4 or 5 years and then you realize, oh wow, this person is not a good influence on me. So what would you say to someone maybe who doesn't have the courage maybe to distance that relationship?
I think more so than anything else, the reason why people don't distance themselves is because they don't really fully commit to the process that they're currently going underneath. Like, for example, if you truly believe that you're going to be on self-development, you're at a stage where you're going to be nearly obsessed with the idea of becoming better for yourself. So the only way really to escape the friendship barrier of like people like negatively influencing you is become obsessed with that thing that you're going to do, whether that's starting a business, music, or anything you're doing. Like, for example, you do music, so you know, like you can fall in love with the process of creating music. Or like, for example, I'm so invested in like creating videos and self-development stuff that I've become really obsessed with the idea of doing it. And it drifts me away from like saying no to those things of like, oh, do you want to go out next weekend? Or do you want to do this? Do you want that? Like, I literally don't like wasting time on those things when I know there's more important things to do. So it's about the criteria that someone holds. Like, for example, if you hold your friends' values of them wanting to bring you on a night out more than your own values, then you're going to obviously go with your friend. But if you've come to a stand that you have to be like, my morals, my standards are this right now, I want to maybe more move towards that. And so I feel like that's the kind of way you have to go.
I would say that I'm very blessed and to have found my passion and my focus from a young age. So I always had that, like, since I was 14, since I was a baby. I've always known my passion and what my future would roughly look like. Now, you never, there's a good quote, we make plans, God laughs. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know what they want to do. A lot of people don't have a business that they're focused on. They don't have a passion for music. And they're in a situation where the negative friends might be the only thing they have in their life. So, like, if they were to cut out them negative friends, it would be a state of being lost. And as humans, we like the familiarity. We don't like being lost. Thus, that's why a lot of people don't move away from their negative friends, because they don't have something there. So in a state of someone who doesn't have a business, music, what do you think in that situation would be the way to distance yourself? Because it's such a difficult thing. Like, I know it's not an easy thing, man. It's not an easy thing.
No, it's definitely not an easy thing. A lot of people feel lost. And to be honest, what I would say is spend a lot of time in solitude. Like, honestly, because you know, that's it. Like, 'cause at the end of the day, man, it's not like that you don't so for example, like I spent a lot of time in my young years just being friends with lots of people, and I always needed company around me because that's what I felt like gave me comfort, if you get me, right? And I never liked being on my own, because every single time I'd be on my own, I'd feel like, oh, depressed, or just random thoughts of just, bad thoughts to myself, and I always needed people around me. But you have to find the love of solitude, like something that like you can just be by yourself and just understand yourself. And like when you grow as an individual is when you start learning to love being in solitude. And
Yeah, no, 100%.
especially like when you're looking to like change your lifestyle and be like, that these things are negative for you, you need to like evaluate yourself. Like I actually just recorded a video there a couple of days ago. It's called did you ever hear of crabs in a bucket theory?
Yeah, I watched the video. It was a very good video.
No, that's dope. I haven't
Oh no, sorry, the frog. That's
that's wrong. Yeah, there's a crabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a crabs in a bucket theory, and it's basically like a bunch of crabs. They can all climb out of the bucket, right? But they literally, none of them really do, except for that one crab that tries. But then when that crab tries, the other crabs pull it down. And the reason they pull it down is because other crabs, like it's like being in an environment of negativity. Other crabs won't let you succeed because it sees that their success is obstructed by your success, and they're just jealous and envious. And like most people, like for example, especially like in certain environments, when you're kind of caught up in an environment, a lot of people will be envious if you try to do something different. You'll look like the weird person, and that will kind of makes you feel alone in your own head, especially in self-development. But that's okay. You have to understand that getting into solitude and like understanding like and being alone for a period of time is what makes or breaks you as a human being. Like it literally shows you like, can you withstand your own mind?
I think too with solitude, it's something that like anything, the podcast is called One Step at a Time. When you mention something like solitude, I don't think the objective is to start off with locking yourself in your room for a day or a week or 2 months. It's literally making a plan of, okay, today I'm going to spend 30 minutes by myself. I'm not going to be on my phone. I may just go outside for a walk, and I'm just going to reflect of where I'm at and spend that time and slowly build up that time to where you become comfortable. Just like the way when you become friends with someone, it's kind of it's a slow process to being able to spend lots of time and having that genuine connection. It's the same with yourself. You have to slowly build up that genuine connection with yourself, because I think I've only in the last maybe 5 months, a year, started to become my own best friend. I used to think I was, but I wasn't. And it's a slow process. But if you can become your own best friend, then all of a sudden you have someone to lean on, and that person is you. You're the person you lean on. So yeah,
They are like, and you make a great point there, because the way I would say that is like, you come into this world on your own, and you're going to leave on this world on your own. So there's no way. Why would you rely on someone else? You have to make your own choices, and you are a compound of your own choices.
Facts. No, I couldn't have said any better. So 2021, you're in college?
Yeah, so 2021 to 2000 and I guess 2022. Yeah, last year.
Okay.
I'd say the biggest transformation of my life in terms of mentality, everything, just seeing the world for different stuff, understanding, trying to learn.
And a big thing of that, because I've seen one of your videos, is tattoo.
Yeah.
And I've never I've never actually been lucky enough or blessed enough to have any Muslim friends. I've known Muslim people, but never had close Muslim friends where I could like have an open discussion and figure out about the culture and stuff. And so when I was watching your video, I didn't know that the tattoos wasn't a thing that you're allowed to do or taboo. So could you break down a little bit about your tattoo and what was it like growing up in Muslim culture and whatnot?
Yeah, so growing up Muslim, I think for me, extremely tough, because I came into Ireland, I guess, at a young age when I was like 4 years old. So I grew up, I guess you could say, in a very westernized culture, and I enjoyed all what westernized people enjoy, but my parents were quite strict, and it kind of like my tattoo, the meaning of my tattoo kind of correlates to my whole life in a sense, right? It's like a glass, and it's like a kind of a tree growing out of it, and it used to be like a dome. And my message on that is basically like when I grew up, I was so like limited with different beliefs, like I was so like put down and said that I couldn't do this, I had to be a certain way. If you gave me like, my parents said, Asian parents, they expect the highest of you. Like if I'm not a doctor, they're disappointed, bro. Like, you get me? So it's like crazy expectations, and I grew up with that, and I feel like because I grew up with such a strict Muslim background, I kind of strayed away from religion a lot, and and because of that, like, I feel like I'm not a religious person at the moment, but only recently am I understanding that I do want to be someone of faith in the future, and I want to learn more about my own religion. But I feel like I was kind of pushed away from it at a young age because of how much it was forced upon me, if you get me. And the whole tattoo thing, it is definitely forbidden to get a tattoo, but like me getting the tattoo was a symbolization of like I can break past like this limiting beliefs. Yeah. You get me? And like once, like that's the whole thing with tattoo. Like it's a tree growing out of a glass that's kind of broken, and that broken glass represents the fact that I am breaking past all these limited beliefs that was put down on me when I was a young kid. And growing up, I realized you only succeed when you pass your limiting beliefs. It's like you have to unlearn the things that you learned as a kid nearly somehow succeed in your life.
What do you think is something positive you've learned from growing up maybe around Muslim and being a Muslim that like still sticks with you?
Yeah, no, I think like we have like great moral codes. Like I feel like being kind, giving away as much of our money if we ever got rich, like people are rich or something. Like we all give away a lot of money. We give away kindness. I feel like there's so much positive stuff about the religion, and the thing is, I'm just not educated enough to, I guess, understand the religion enough, because I've strayed away from it for so long. But
it's a big topic. There's a lot there.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and I definitely do want to get back to religion in a way of like, but in my own time, in my own way. Gotcha. You get like something that makes me feel like it wasn't forced upon me. When I can take my own time. Definitely. But I love the moral code of my religion. I feel like everyone's very, like present with our religion. We're grounded. We respect God a lot. We like, for example, making time to pray 5 times a day for, like that.
Yeah, that's respect.
It's
doing anything 5 times a day, that takes time. Like, never mind having such a spiritual experience.
Exactly. It's a lot of effort, and I feel like it's that grounded belief of like actually believing something and having faith in something, and whether that translates into now my like believing in myself. I have taken that away from the religion, where belief is such a strong thing, and I've just chosen now to believe in myself a lot more, and then go ahead and translate that into everything else I do in life. And I think it was definitely valuable. I learned great lessons, but it is something that I'm not 100% educated on right now.
Yeah, gotcha. That honesty, though, I think it's very respectable, though, to have that honesty that you're saying I don't know everything about it, but I am willing to delve into it maybe in the future when I'm at a certain point in my life. Yeah, and I think when you have that open-mindedness, there's no chains, there's no barriers, there's no obstacles on you, because you're open to having that experience, just not at the moment. Yeah. Which is, I think, is more than respectable. Photography. So before the YouTube, a lot of the motivational and self-help stuff, I suppose to give it a backdrop, it's how we met. So I'm very good with dates, my man. I'm very good, and I pinpointed the date of when we met. We actually met. Jesus, you'd swear it was romantic. Yes. We actually met on January 26th, 2019, and I know that because I released a song that week, and J. Cole also released a song that week. And I was coming home from Dublin on the train, and I sat across from you, and you were listening to J. Cole Middle Child. And I was like, oh, he's listening to J. Cole, he's a rap fan, he might like my music. So I was like, oh, sorry, man. So that's funny enough how we ended up meeting. But
can I tell my perspective?
Yeah, actually, yeah, please. That'd be brilliant.
Okay, so I did not remember the date and all the kind of stuff. It was a long time ago, but I do remember getting on the train, and I had my headphones in, and I was so awkward back then. I didn't really talk to people on the train. But you had this like smile about you, this aura about you, and you were kind of buzzing away to yourself. And I looked over at you a few times, and you were sitting right in front of me. But it was only until like maybe like I nearly was like 20 minutes away from where I was supposed to be, stopping on the train. And then you told me to take out my headphones, and I was like, oh yeah, well, like and you signaled, and I was like, okay. And I'm so awkward, especially in those situations. Back then I wouldn't have been as confident talking to people. But you definitely. When you spoke to me and you showed me like a song, you were like, oh, hey, what do you think about this rapper? You literally just was like, what do you think about this rapper? And I listened to the song. Yeah, I listened to the song, and I was like, oh, he's sick. And I gave you feedback, and I said, he sounds a bit like Token and NF mixed together. And But that's good critique, you know. I like both those people, and I said, oh, he's sick, like, and that was my honest opinion of the song. But then when you told me it was you, I was so amazed. I was so amazed. I was like, no way, bro. Like, that's so sick. Like, the song was so good, and you know, I've supported your music since, and I think what you're doing with music is sick. Like,
Oh man, that's just the beauty of like people's memories and perspectives. Because like I totally forgotten all that. Like I literally only remember like meetings.
it's a good story though. I feel like the way you went about it and the way you approached me with it, I think it was the best way you could have got good, like, honest feedback. And you know, like, and you carried a kind of like a good energy about yourself that like I wanted to talk to you. Right? You know, you presented with a smile, and like, you know, you have to like be articulate like that, and like you have to, I guess, put yourself out there like that. And I feel like you made one fan that day, and that fan will be your fan forever. You can't be like, I will always be a fan of you.
I also became a fan that day of your work, so it was mutual. It's funny because in experiences like that, I've been like that for a while, where I never even weigh up what if this doesn't work in my mind. So like example, like what if this person thinks like I'm weird or whatever. It's like, because I've done it so much of just chatting to people. Now it's different in a business setting where I'm a little bit more kind of a little bit more reserved, still myself, but just a little bit more reserved. But when I just want to chat to somebody, I literally in my mind don't see anywhere else but this going really good.
You know what? You have that self-belief in yourself and the confidence, and like that is what you need in life. Like, I think anyone can take away from that is like that you need to just do it. Like, you need to just talk to
just do it. Yeah.
Like, to be honest, I'm still struggling with that a lot. Like, I don't go up to people and talk to them. Like, I feel like I still feel a bit awkward doing that, but I know that over time, when I build up self-confidence and do it more, like as you said, practice. You just do it to everyone, bang. Like, and now look at us. We're on a podcast together.
I know. It's funny. But so we meet each other then, and at the time you were doing photography. So you were doing photography before you started your YouTube.
So
content.
Photography.
So where did that
been,
come?
Sorry, you going?
Yeah, where did that start, or what inspired that?
Yeah, so photography has been like well, I picked up a camera when I was like 16 or 17 years old, and at the start I was just taking random photos and like, you know, and I just claimed to be a photographer, and but honestly it was one of these things that I've always wanted to have a hobby of, I guess, and now I'd say only like a couple of years, only like 2 years ago now, I've actually made it like kind of a part-time, full-time job where I'm in a club every weekend that I am a photographer for, or like make videos for a club or something like that. I'm not, I wouldn't say it's like my full-time job, but I do enjoy it, and it's still like a hobby, but it allowed me to like get into making videos and stuff, like, which actually got me into filming and stuff like that. And I feel like every step you take, no matter like even understanding how to use a camera, you know, all of that is beneficial to what my journey is right now.
Definitely. And is that something you want to pursue full-time in the future, being a full-time photographer? Or do you want to keep that kind of on the side? You just enjoy it
and like that, having that like a couple days a week.
I think photography it's a great skill. I do love it, but I don't think like I am like so passionate about it that I'm gonna like it's gonna be my full-time career for the rest of my life. You know, I will do it, like, but I don't like. I feel like making videos and creating YouTube videos, creating something of value. Because to be honest, I'm sober, and I haven't drank like nearly 10-11 months or something like that. And but I am in a club every single weekend for the last like 50 or 60 weeks, you know, and it's just the fact that I don't really like necessarily being in clubs. I don't really like being around that stuff that much, but I have to do it because it's my job. You get me?
I get you. I think photography, it does give value. It's just it's a different type of value. Because photography is such a powerful thing, and I think someone like who is passionate would like show you a picture, and you would be able to feel the passion, and thus you would get value, and you like the way you think about it and observe the picture. Just something you touched on there. I'm also so I go through periods of like, I would say I rarely drink. I would have drank a lot. There were like had a lot of relations who suffer from alcoholism, so that definitely had an impact on me. And I would have drank in my teenage years like you. It was binge drinking, and for like my own whatever I was going through at the time. But as like in my older years, in my adult years, I very rarely drink. I don't smoke either. Oh, my only thing is nicotine. Yeah, I do smoke from time to time. That is something that gets me from time to time, but I'm doing very good at the moment. But something I do enjoy that club environment. Not so much clubs maybe, because I don't really like clubs in general, but it's a skill that I have built up that I can go out and enjoy myself to a high standard, because I like being in control. I like to have clarity of when I'm speaking. And one of the reasons, nothing better than I love than having a great conversation with someone in a pub. And anytime I speak or anytime I'm having any engagement, I like clarity. I need clarity. And the moment I start drinking or something, I lack clarity. So was that a skill you built up to be able to be around drunk people, to be able to be in them environments and be sober? Or is it just like natural? Do you reckon?
I think it's such a superpower to be sober when everyone else is drunk. It's actually amazing. It's like this overwhelming.
You learn a lot too.
Yeah, you learn a lot. Like it's actually crazy because honestly, I was awkward at the start when I was going out and like I didn't drink and like everyone around me drank, and it does, you know, it is kind of nerve wracking when everyone else is on a different vibe than you are, but you learn over time, you know. It's one of those things. Now I've gone out hundreds of times since, you know, and people drink around me. I don't mind it. Like it's nothing to me. Like I still hold a conversation. I think sometimes now I hold better conversations with people that are drunk because I know how to deal with it better. And honestly, like I think it's a superpower, and I think anyone that wants to like maybe quit alcohol and actually just want to go sober, think of it as a superpower. Think of something that like allows you to be 100% yourself. Because I feel like when you're drinking and you're using alcohol as something that is enhancing, I guess, that your better feeling of your dopamine receptors, you're allowing something else to influence you. But when you're actually in the zone and you're in the moment and you're enjoying it for the full value that it is,
it's uncomparable. Yeah, it's uncomparable, man.
Yeah, there's nothing comparable, and I feel amazing because of it. Like, you know,
I love that.
I don't miss the hangovers, anyways.
You know, yeah. I had the worst hangovers when I was a teenager. Like the worst ones, like all when I was a teenager, because I was binge drinking. Like I've never binged. I've drank in my adult years, but I've like just teenage like binging, like to the point where I could have done serious damage to myself. Grateful I didn't. Shout out the God. Anyways, Aniq, I'm going to wrap it up there. Before I wrap it up, if you could give some simplistic advice and a simple step that a person after they listen to this could take, like one simple step that it's not going to run the marathon, it's not just one like simple step that they could do right now to help put them on the path of change and progress, what would be the step that's very doable that they could do in this moment right now?
I generally think is just learn more, educate yourself, and not just educate yourself in like, you know, a business or something. Educate yourself with your mindset, like your actual like spirituality level. I understand that like maybe there's certain things in your life that if it's plaguing you, try to like maybe do some meditation, or even just go find meditation through jogging or even like the gym. I feel like there's small things. They're not like small, but they're accumulation.
They're big enough, like that.
Yeah, they're big things, but I feel like if you start accumulating small things, like even just wake up earlier in the morning, because to be honest, when you're up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, there's no one else that can bother you. So if you wake up earlier, you're able to, I guess, be in your mind and maybe meditate, maybe read that book that you've been putting off. Don't put off the things that you think are going to be better for your mental health, because we get so overstimulated with everything that's happening in the world, we don't take time for ourselves. And I feel like taking time for ourselves is what gives us better mental health. So before anything, I think just practice being mindful and just grateful for everything that we have in life.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of putting it. Practice being mindful and grateful. I think something anyone could do right now, no matter where you are on this planet or who you are, what your situation is, if you're listening to this, you're able to breathe, and like all of a sudden you have something to be grateful for. So I think you're very, very, very right with gratitude. Aniq, thank you for being my first guest.
It's been a pleasure, my man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for your patience, and the words are very wise, and sharing your story about your pops and the impact that had, and also where you're at now in your life. So I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. See you again, man.
Oh, man. Have a lovely evening. Just to let you know, guys, I'm going to hop on after this and still chat to him to ask him how it went. Break the wall, baby. Break the wall. God bless everyone. Have a lovely time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the first episode of One Step at a Time. If you did enjoy this, it would mean a lot if you were to like and follow. And I hope you're here for the next episode. Stay tuned.
They want to know the story. The course of therapist and Ableton records me. Screaming Tibby, save my audience, ignoring me. When I hit the grade, them daffodils are mandatory.